Hey guys, my last video I kind of went over a few things that I want to try to get done today. Working on a 1980 K5 Blazer, and I'm doing an LS swap. Trying to today get my coil packs put on. If I get those on, then I'll do my throttle cable. I've got a crankshaft position sensor that I put on, either pulley, tensioner assembly, and water neck with a new thermostat for this water pump. Try to get all that stuff put on. Kind of give you a bird's eye view, let you look over my shoulder while I'm doing that. Pretty straightforward process with all of it. I'm using new parts, and the coil packs, they were nasty, so I had to clean them up. Went ahead and cleaned them up, painted the brackets, and rewrapped all the wiring. That's something you may want to do, may want to try to get done before you install yours, in case you have any old or broken wires. You won't have any issues with startup if you double check those things now instead of having to do it later. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and I'll probably put the coil pack on the driver's side first and then move around the passenger side so you can kind of see more about what I'm doing. So go ahead and get started here. All your bolts, guys, keep up with everything. Try to mark and label. I've said that a few times in a couple of the videos that I've done. The reason I say that is because I've had to go back to the junkyard just for bolts. I've had to go back to the junkyard just to get things that I could not find anymore, or misplaced, didn't label, and don't know what it is. So you want to make sure that you go and take care of that. Get you some bags, some small Ziploc bags or something. I think I've got mine at Hobby Lobby. And get you a Sharpie marker and just label those things. You know, you're going to need them when you reassemble, so you might as well have all of it and have it ready to go. When you're doing this, guys, your wiring is back here, so you want to make sure you don't pinch it or mash it up against the valve cover. You cause yourself some major problems later down the road. You get all that mashed in there like that, so be careful with it. Just take it easy with it. Come back later and get that one. Easy as that. There's 5 bolts on there. On that one side, there's 5 on the other. That brake booster and stuff is in the way, so I'll go back through and tighten that other one off camera. Grab this other one here. Try to get out of your way so you can see. Just gonna sit it up there and line it up. Put your bolts in it and then plug it up. Again, make sure your wiring is not in the way. You don't want to pinch that stuff. Get a couple in here and kind of start them. Alright. Run that down just a hair. Go ahead and start these other ones before I tighten that up, because I want to make sure I don't have any issues with it lining up. Looks like one of my studs is gone, so I'll have to get another one of those or pull one off of my other valve cover. Go ahead and tighten these up. Alright, that's on there. Once you get those on, go ahead and get your plug and plug those in. Let's see, get that out of the way. Come around here and plug this other one in. Alright, easy as that. Coil packs are on. I've got a stud missing on the front here, and I've got one on the other side that I'll have to tighten up by hand, but I'll do that here in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead now and jump to the tensioner assembly. I'll go ahead and get that and stick that on there. This is a new tensioner from O'Reilly's. Keep up with all your bolts and you don't have to try to chase them down in the junkyard. Try to get these started pretty good by hand before you just crank down on them with the impact or some hand tools. You don't want to have to take that water pump off and put it back on again. Go ahead and take that tape off of there. Alright, that's on there pretty good. I'll go back through, guys, and torque all this stuff later. Right now I just want to kind of snug it all up, but I'll come back off camera, torque everything down, make sure it's good and tight like it needs to be. I would suggest you do the same thing. So alright, that's on there. Nice and quick, nice and easy. Alright, got this water neck. There's a notch right here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a coinciding spot on this grommet here that when you set that in there, you need to make sure that lines up. That way your pig hole there is lined up where it needs to be to let water come in and set on top of that. So I'm going to set that up there. When you're putting that on, guys, make sure your thermostat doesn't fall off and mess up what we just talked about with the pick hole and the grommet having a spot in it notched. You can kind of run these down by hand right quick. Make sure you put your water neck on facing the right way. You believe it or not, you have some people that get in a hurry or whatever and they turn around and face towards the pulley. I mean, that's naturally that's not going to work. So I'm thinking that's a 10. Not going to take a chance on this, guys, with the impact. Go ahead and get hand tools to snug this up instead of using the impact. You don't want to be dumb and have to take that water pump off because you over tightened it and stripped it out. Alright, that's on there. Let's see what's next. We'll do the crankshaft position sensor next. Again, in the other video, something I went over, you need to find out if your original one is black or gray. It makes a difference because there's a prong in there. If your prong is on the wrong side, your harness plug is not going to plug into that. And I ran into that, got the wrong one, I had to go back and get the other one. So I think that's an 8mm bolt that takes that off of there. Nope, it's a 10. down on the side of the motor, down here behind the starter. Great place for it. If your starter's on there, you will have to take your starter off in order to get this off. You probably have to take your starter off just to be able to see it good. Move that a little bit, pop it out. I'm gonna get just a little bit of WD-40 to spray on that O-ring before I stick it back in there. You don't want to just stick this in there. Put something on it to kind of lube that O-ring up a little bit before you put it in. Yeah. So we're going to do that. We're going to put that in that slot. Kind of jiggle it a little bit. You don't want to tear your O-ring putting that back in, because that will leak a ton of oil, and that's not something you're going to want to have to mess with later on. Fortunately, I don't have any exhaust on here, exhaust manifolds or headers, so that makes doing this stuff like this a breeze. Try to think about the process and how you're doing things, so you don't have to go back and redo or take things off in order to put new parts on or whatever. Be mindful of that when you're doing an assembly like this from the start, from nothing. Make sure you're thinking ahead, planning ahead when it comes to things like that. So, all right, and I'll take and plug my harness back into that, and that's good to go. All right, so pretty quick, not much to it. Got the coil packs on. We got the tensioner pulley assembly on there, water neck and thermostat, and I'm going to come back and do this either pulley, and we did the crankshaft position sensor. Next video, I'll show again the throttle cable. I'm going to put it on in a different video. I'm going to go ahead and snug all this stuff up and button it up, and then I'll jump to the throttle cable in the next video. So guys, you're doing this, think ahead, mark your bolts, label your bolts, keep everything nice and neat if you're able to. And when you're buying parts, make sure you're getting the right stuff. That way you're not running back and forth to the parts house. So with that, we'll catch you on the next video.